Society Matters.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in today. I'm your host, Ken Schachter, and on this episode of Disrupting Hate on HMTV, I'll be joined by my special guest, Eva Rosenstein. I hope I pronounced that
That's
correctly.
correct.
And we'll be discussing Eva's research into the use of propaganda as a tool of population control and a weapon of war. So, Eva, I think we need to start from scratch because this is a little bit of a cold opening. We haven't met before.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, how you came to do research on propaganda.
Well, I'll tell you first what I'm doing. I run a nonprofit organization that I created in the memory of my coach, my teacher and my coach, whose name was Lilian Wilder. She was a very famous coach.
Coach for what?
Public speaking.
Public speaking, okay.
And she coached President Bush, the father, Oprah Winfrey, many, many famous personalities. And one of her very famous students was Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, that explains
is
a
why
lot.
he's so good.
I mean,
But he was good before he came to her.
okay. Yes. I mean, his English has obviously is great. And,
No, but his public speaking he's probably one of the world's best. So I met her. I hired her when I was in the high-tech world because one of my responsibilities, I studied computer science and I work for a company whose name was Amdahl.
Amdahl, I think I've heard.
It was a publicly traded company. We were competing with IBM. Mainframe computers. So how it all started, since we are talking about this, I'll tell you how I got into this. So I was responsible for putting together seminars. Whenever there was a product release that the company had, I would put together seminars for high-level executives of various companies, like American Express, many of them don't exist anymore, Merrill Lynch, Lehman Brothers, and so on. And one day, when it was a very successful seminar in the World Financial Center, there were maybe 500-600 top-level executives that attended. I watched the audience. We had presenters that came from the headquarters, which was in Sunnyvale, California. And I looked at the audience, and half the audience was asleep. Mm-hmm. And as you probably know, in the computer field, there were very few women in those days. This is in the 80s and 90s. And there were very few Jewish women. So at the end of the event, the VP of marketing, that was a man that was like 6'8", he was a giant. He used to call me Little Eva. He said, "Oh, thank you so much. You did such a wonderful job. I really appreciate it." So I said to him, "I must tell you, Dave, that I watched the audience and half the audience was asleep. So you need to train the marketing people that come to present. They need training." So he said to me, "You train them." So I said, "You want me to train them?" He knew that I was a professor, adjunct professor at Baruch, and I had a background in teaching at that point.
What were you teaching at Baruch?
Computer science.
Computer science, okay.
So when I said, "Do you want me to train them?" he said, "No, hire someone." So I said, "Okay, and what's my budget?" He said, "You tell me." So an offer like that, you can't refuse. So I went searching for the best coach that I could find. Budget was no matter to him. So I found, through friends, I read about this woman, Lilian Wilder. She was written up in the New York Times that she coached many famous individuals, many personalities, and this is before Google. I looked her up in the Yellow Pages, and I called her, and we made an appointment to meet. I didn't know that she was Jewish or that she was a Zionist because her name, Lilian Wilder, doesn't give it away. My name gives it away. And we became, she did a workshop for the marketing people. It was very expensive. But he told me, anything I want will happen.
Uh-huh. And what kind of, just out of curiosity, what kind of tips or what kind of ideas did she provide for effective public speaking? Just in case I need to
that's what I do now.
Make a speech.
Well, you have to know, first you have to know your audience. Mm-hmm. You have to know your message. And then it's really three basic items. You have to know your audience, you have to know your message, and you have to plan on how to get the message across in a way that the audience will remember what it is that you said.
Okay. I mean, when I think of Silicon Valley and public speaking, I think a lot of people's minds would go to Steve Jobs, of course, because when he would make presentations, Apple was pretty dramatic in their rollouts, of course.
Yeah, he had very good people helping him.
I'm sure.
But he himself was not such a great speaker, Steve Jobs. Mm-hmm. He spoke at Stanford at a commencement address. He was okay, but he had many people really top-notch people helping him.
I'm sure. Okay.
With all the advertising and so on.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so
then I became friends with her because it was so successful the first time that we did it that we traveled all over the United States to provide this workshop to marketing staff in other cities. And then I got to know her, and I realized that not only is she Jewish, but she's a Zionist. Mm-hmm. She's traveled to Israel many times, and she loved Israel. And since I speak Hebrew, and I travel to Israel very often, I was traveling to Israel very often, she sort of adopted me. When I met her, she was still married, then she became a widow, but she didn't have any children. And she had a very small family. So, and she trained me. I would work with her in analyzing some of the speakers. In her studio, she had 4 televisions going at the same time without sound. And if she would see one of her students appeared, she would turn the TV on. So she was always, somebody interesting. She was always watching the news or various talk shows to see if one of her students was on. And we would analyze some speakers together, and she started to train me on the techniques that she was using. She wrote several books. So when I'm telling you the whole story, how it happened from the beginning. So one day she invited me for dinner, and she said to me, "Would you be my healthcare proxy?" So I was like, "What's a healthcare proxy?" I didn't even...
Wow, that's pretty significant, healthcare proxy.
So I didn't even realize because I took care of my parents and so on, so I said, okay, I didn't want to insult her. I didn't realize what that involved because when she became elderly and she became sick, she had several illnesses. It was a very big job looking after her. Mm-hmm. I said yes, and before she became sick, we created a 501c3, which is a nonprofit tax-exempt organization.
Yes.
And what she wanted to do, her dream was to train Israelis to be better communicators, because she always felt that Israelis are so brilliant, which they are so innovative, But when she listens to them on television, she's sick to her stomach. She would call me about 3 times a week. Can you explain to me why? And honestly, I had no explanation to give her.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you could make an argument that the Israeli government and army was maybe less than optimal in during the war, the Hamas war.
Now, this last one.
Yes, and over the last since October 7th. I mean, I think
that's another story.
Yes.
I agree with that. So what happened was that I traveled with her a few times to Israel. She received some grants from various people, and we trained individuals from the foreign ministry. We started to train certain individuals.
With this 501c3.
With this 501c3.
Okay.
And then she became very ill, and she passed away. And she told me everything that she wanted me to do. The only thing she didn't tell me what she wanted was where she wanted to be buried. Huh. But when she became very ill and I went to visit her in the hospital, she said, when I get better, we are going to Jerusalem. So my thought was, she wants to be in Jerusalem. So I found a way to bury her in Jerusalem when she passed away.
Okay, she passed away in
New York City.
New York City, okay.
So she's buried in Jerusalem.
Uh-huh.
And after that, after she passed away, I started to develop a really extensive course, several courses on how to teach not only Israelis, it could be American, but we were focusing on Israelis and American Jews, how to teach them to be better communicators. And I've been doing this for the past 10 years.
Through the 501c3?
Right.
Okay.
I actually went to...
What's the name of the 501c3?
It's named after her Lilian Wilder group. Lilian Wilder Center for Communication Excellence.
Okay. And the funding was through her bequest or something?
Yeah. It's whatever it was, which was not that much. And I had some donations, but this was her dream. Whatever she had, she wanted to leave for that cause.
Okay.
And I've trained many members of Knesset and for the members of the Foreign Ministry and these students. I worked with Bar Ilan University for 10 years. Until COVID, I was doing probably 10, I would say maybe eight sessions per year.
Per
long
year
sessions.
at Bar Ilan.
Not 8, but 8 intense sessions, like 8 weeks or 8 segments of 10-day sessions.
Okay, and you were aiming for people who, students, faculty. Who were you aiming for in Bar Ilan?
It was students, it was faculty, it was whoever Bar Ilan invited. It was members of the Knesset, it was doctors, business people, mayors of various cities.
And was the idea to train people who would have contact with non-Israelis, or was that the idea, or
yeah, that's the main idea.
Okay.
But whatever you learn, the techniques that you learn are good they could be used with any language that you wish. Mm-hmm. But I provide the training in English, and I speak Hebrew as well. But okay. I teach in English, and we want them to be better communicators for the world because they are not very good.
Yes. Well, yeah. Also, Israel sends out these shlichot. Is that right? The
shlichim.
Shlichim. And
shaliach.
Right. And do you deal with some of those?
Yeah, with some of them from the Foreign Ministry.
Okay.
I was doing a lot more work before COVID. Like COVID changed a lot of things in Israel. And then the war. Well, after COVID, there was a war in 21. I came the day it started. And now I'm doing I'm still doing some training.
Okay. And so things slowed down a bit because of COVID and the war, I guess, and I guess everything.
The second war and this war, yeah.
Yes.
But I'm not giving up.
Okay. All right. And so if people wanted to contact you in connection with the foundation, the Lilian Wilder Foundation, should we have
we have a website.
A website? Okay, we can put that in the program notes and so that people can find you.
I'll give you the information.
Okay, that would be useful so people can look in the program notes. And what are you looking toward in the future? As to keep this thing going. Do you?
Well, I want to continue doing what I'm doing, and I would like to find maybe one or two younger people and train them to take over from me one day. But it's a very important. When I provide this training in Israel, I don't charge the individuals. It's because she felt, let's do it in such a way that it will not cost them. Mm-hmm. I still can't figure out if it's a good idea or it's a bad idea.
Why? Do you feel like it would be better if they had a little skin in the game, perhaps? Or?
Perhaps. But I still didn't come to a conclusion what's best.
Okay. I can understand that. And so, during these 10-day segments, you take video of the speakers, you examine their speech patterns.
What I do first, I give them the techniques that I need, that are the techniques that one needs to use to be an effective communicator, which is based on Lilian's techniques. I would have brought one of her books here. I just didn't know what we were going to discuss today. And it's on the website. She wrote several books. So first I teach all the techniques, and I have a lot of examples. I have a lot of videos. It's a multimedia workshop. And it's very interesting because there are videos from history, speakers like John Kennedy, Ronald Reagan. He was known as the great communicator.
Yes.
Israelis and American speakers. And then after that, the students need to give at least 2 speeches. Okay. They need to write a speech. So that's the basic course. But then I have other courses, how to interview in the media.
Right. Well, and it could be different. I used to be in the print journalism, but it's certainly different now. When you're, it could be audio, could be video.
Right. Today it's so much different because there's so much communication that's happening. YouTube. We are connected. Our phone is like the center of communication.
Yeah, and you have these online influencers,
right?
And how have they changed the landscape?
That's a good question. It's something to think about. They've changed it, not necessarily for the good.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that sounds like an odd sounding job title. I'm an influencer. What does that mean exactly? But yet these people have many followers and
like
apparently
Candace Owens, for example.
Yeah, I don't know the names of people, but I know this culture exists.
Yeah, influencers, they want you to believe what they believe. They want to change your mind.
Okay.
I guess that's what it means.
Right. Right.
That's what Lenin wanted to do. He wanted to change everybody's mind. So he was an influencer as well, if you think about it.
Lenin.
And Stalin, all of those.
Yeah, okay. All right. Not John Lennon.
No, not John.
Vladimir. Okay. Yes.
John Lennon with his music, maybe, but it was not in the same way.
Yes. Okay. Well, yes, and certainly the effective communicators can make a dent in the how people are people's opinions. And on the negative side for us as Jews, certainly this tidal wave of globalized the Intifada, et cetera, has somehow captured the ear of many people around the world, certainly, and on some college campuses here. So, what's the strategy for going up against those kind of ideologies?
Look, I believe to fight back against them, but all of the globalized intifada, from the river to the sea, all of that was, it's not that some person woke up one day and he thought of it. As you probably know, these organizations like Students for Justice in Palestine and all of these other radical organizations have a lot of money behind them. And a lot of the money comes from countries like Qatar and Iran, and they have PR agencies that are helping them. Mm-hmm. I looked up you could Google that information. I Googled how many PR agencies does Qatar have in the U.S., and it's a lot. They spend a lot of money on PR.
So in some ways, it's a PR battle as well. I mean, it's not just, things are not just, it's a battle for the hearts and minds, I guess, as they used to say. And it's not just a battle, it's not just the battlefield, but it's also the opinion and ultimately a political battlefield as well.
Sure. We think it's just, somebody came up with the slogan and they have so many people behind them. There's a lot more behind that. There's a lot of money, mm-hmm. a lot of money mm-hmm. on the university campuses.
Yes. I've spoken to some students. I interviewed one from Columbia, and it's shocking for someone like me who's the parent of a recent college graduate, mm-hmm. Who luckily in my case my daughter was going to school abroad, but the upswelling on college campuses was kind of an eye opener, and I still can't quite understand how someone like me kind of missed it.
Yeah, I think in our generation we missed it because I went to a few universities and we were busy studying, and then we worked part-time to have some extra money. We didn't have time to fight for all these causes. I mean, I don't remember having time to fight. Do you remember having a lot of time, extra time each day to fight for all kinds of causes?
No, I was a busy college student at the University of Oregon, and I took a lot of classes, and
right.
I did some extracurricular stuff, and that was pretty much my life for those
in
years.
My college days and high school days. What started in high school, what I was involved in was the Soviet Jewry movement. Mm-hmm. I made sure that all my friends were very active in that, but we didn't have time. We had to do some part-time work. And
yes, there was also work. I mean, there was school, there was work, and you had to have a social life because
right.
Why else would you be in college?
It's very different today. And again, there are forces that are working on doing this. It's not. How shall I say? It looks like it's very. All of a sudden, these students rise up and have all these slogans and demonstrate. No, there's somebody behind it.
Yes, and is there a way to unmask those behind these radical organizations?
I think the Trump government is attempting to do that, but they probably could do a lot more because they have to follow the money. Where is the money coming from? Which I don't know if they've been doing. I mean, maybe they're doing it and we don't know about it.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, there are free speech. It's a key part of the American law, and I mean that is the First Amendment. So it is complicated. People have their say in this.
But some of the things that are happening on college campuses like Harvard and Columbia is beyond free speech.
Mm-hmm.
It went way beyond that.
Yes, and the battle between some of these colleges and the Trump administration will be interesting to see how things develop.
For sure.
Yes.
But you know that you asked me about my research on propaganda. So in my research, I found that Hitler had. Do you know who his PR, his minister of propaganda was? It was Goebbels.
Goebbels, yeah.
And he wanted to hire a PR agency. This is in the 30s. Which, when I read about that, I said, "Oh my God!" He was looking for a PR agency, and the father of PR in those days was Bernays, Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, and he was Jewish, obviously, and he approached him. He didn't know that he was Jewish, and Edward Bernays refused to do it, but he hired another agency in the United States to do PR. Mm-hmm. To show that the Nazi Party was really a great party and to spread Nazism in America.
Yeah, remarkably, it's.
You didn't know that.
I did not know that, absolutely not. But I do recall reading about Nazis filling up Madison Square Garden for some kind of rally, and for there being a certain amount of sympathy toward Nazism in the
30s.
In the 1930s, yes. So
I forgot the name of the agency. I have it here that he hired. He was paying them a lot of money in the 30s, like $25,000 a month, something like that, which was a lot of money.
So the battle for hearts and minds went back then, and it still continues now. Mm-hmm. And I guess for those of us, speaking out seems like the key element, I think, for those who want to speak up for what they think is right. So is there a role for just regular people, perhaps online or perhaps in other venues to speak out and
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Look, like this, Israel is accused of committing genocide, killing babies, and if we look at what is happening today in our world, we have other conflicts. We have conflicts in Africa, where many people are being murdered. We have conflicts in Ukraine with Russia, and I just one day looked up just. Like for the fun of it, like not for the fun of it, but just I was curious. So it is over 1 million Russians that were killed in this conflict, like 1.1 million. and in Ukraine, it's close to 1 million. So let's say together there are 2 million individuals that were killed in this conflict with Ukraine. Does anybody say that Putin is committing genocide?
No, it's remarkable. Somehow there's a double standard. It seems like Israel is always in the crosshairs.
Yeah, it's so easy to do this to Israel and Jews.
Yes, and
To target Israel is what I wanted to say. To target Israel and Jews, it's like an easy target.
Yeah, it seems like it is a recurring theme through the years. But I'm afraid our time is up.
Okay.
So thank you for tuning in to this episode of Disrupting Hate on HMTV. Many thanks to my guest, Eva Rosenstein. Thank you so much for sharing her insights. Be sure to subscribe, share, and stay connected for more engaging conversations. Until next time, take care and be well.